You're sitting at someone else's Thanksgiving table. Maybe a friend, maybe a partner's. Their family's loud, messy, arguing over something stupid. And you're watching it all thinking, I no longer have this. Not because you weren't invited somewhere, because you chose this. And somewhere between the food and the small talk, someone looks at you and asks, "So, where's your family?" And you smile, say something vague, because the real answer takes too long, and most people don't actually want to hear it. They want you to say, "Oh, they couldn't make it," so everyone can move on. But you're still sitting with it. Here's what people get wrong. The people who cut off their families, they're almost never the ones who gave up easily. They're the ones who tried the longest. Think about someone, maybe it's even you, who spent their entire 20s driving hours every holiday to sit at a table where they felt completely invisible, not unloved, but unseen, where every conversation eventually circled back to what they hadn't done yet, who they hadn't become, why they still weren't quite enough. And they kept going back every single year. Because that's what you do, right? Leaving felt like betrayal. And hope is a hard thing to let go of, especially when it's pointed at the people who raised you. And then one year, they just didn't go. The world didn't end, but the grief that followed, that felt like an ending. Dr. Karl Pillemer at Cornell spent years studying family estrangement, and what he found goes against almost everything we assume. The people who cut off a parent or sibling, it was never one big moment. It was a long, slow falling apart. Years of trying, years of hoping, conversations that went nowhere, apologies that never came. The same pattern, repeating over and over, until one day, it just didn't make sense to keep trying. The cost of staying became higher than the cost of leaving. That's not giving up. That's someone who cared enough, thought it through, and finally chose themselves. Now here's the part that surprises people. Many of them describe something they didn't expect after leaving. For the first time in their adult life, things felt quiet. Like the noise had finally stopped, and they could actually hear their own thoughts. That's not indifference. That's what relief feels like when you've been carrying something so heavy for so long, you forgot you were even carrying it. The guilt, though, it doesn't just disappear. That voice asking, should I have tried harder, forgiven faster, needed less? Here's what I want you to understand about that guilt. It's not proof you made the wrong choice. It's proof that you actually cared. People who don't care, they just leave. No looking back, no second guessing. The guilt is the most human part of all of this. Whether you've done this, or someone did this to you, or you're somewhere in the middle still figuring it out, cutting off family is not the easy way out. There is no easy way out. It's choosing one kind of pain over another. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, it is genuinely the most caring thing a person can do for themselves. Because a relationship built on resentment and obligation and performance isn't love, it's a deal. And some deals need to end before both people can actually move forward. There are people watching this right now who have spent years making themselves smaller to fit inside a family that was too small for who they actually are. And they've been told that's loyalty, that's love. But surviving isn't noble. It's just surviving. You are allowed to want more than that. The people who cut off their families aren't cold or dramatic. They're people who loved, sometimes deeply, sometimes desperately, and eventually had to choose between that love and themselves. and they chose themselves. And that is one of the hardest, most quietly devastating things a person can do. If any part of this landed for you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're somewhere in this story right now, still figuring it out, you're not alone. Not even close.